Well, hello and how are you? Hey, it's Shenandoah Briscoe coming to you live one more time right here in St. Charles, Missouri. Yes, sir, this here would be blog number 140. Yes, that's right, blog number 140. Let's see, I don't really have much topic for the day, so I'm just going to try to talk it out one more time. Uh, let's see. It's a pretty nice day out there today, so I'm going to try to get out there and get in it. Went out there yesterday, went on up to the swimming pool, but I had to take the long way on account. Remember I told you about flipping over on Bum's Hollow Hill? Well, I can't really, that's the sled riding hill in the park where the kids do their sled riding, so that's a pretty steep hill. Well, my wheelchair made it up it one time or two times and made it down it one and a half times. Well, when it flipped over that second time coming down, that scared me much worse than I thought that it did. It was a slow motion rollover, so I just assumed that it wasn't going to bother me. But right now, I have found out that if I get even the slightest bit off level in my wheelchair, I can't handle it, so I've got to find a different direction to go. So I find myself turning around and working my way back down the hill, and uh, that way while I'm going back down the hill, I don't have to worry about flipping over. So I run the sidewalks and the pavement, keep myself on level ground from that day on. I don't like the fact that I have to take the long way around to get anywhere, but you know how it goes. That's what I was going to talk about. I was going to talk about a long time ago when I was just a youngster. I was playing in a barn. I don't remember if I ever told this story or not, but I was playing in a barn, whereas I shouldn't have been playing, but I was anyway. Now, this barn belonged to a couple of elderly ladies that lived up at the end of one of our lanes on part of our gravel road. They were known as the Bull Sisters. The reason they were known as the Bull Sisters was because, well, their last name was Bull. And so, therefore, they were sisters, and they lived in this old creepy-looking house way at the end of a long weed-grown gravel road. Yes, sir, it was more like two trails with grass up the middle of it. Anyway, my brother used to have a paper route. Well, I'd tag along with him, and we'd go on up that trail, and we'd come up to the Bull Sisters' house, and they were always trying to give us pills. Well, uh, even back then, you're not supposed to take medication from people, but whenever they said pills, they meant M&Ms. Well, we had obliged and took part of them M&Ms. That's right. Uh, they was German ladies. They were little German ladies, and well, my mom and dad and us, we kind of friended them, and being from Germany, you'd have thought they'd have had a Christmas tree at one point in time, but they had never, because, well, that's where we adapted the Christmas tree. We adapted it from Germany because that was just something they done. They took a pine tree and they put candles in it, and that was their celebration of Christmas. And so, therefore, we brought it over to the States after the First World War, well, the Second World War for sure. So, there you go. It was adopted from Germany. Anyway, my mom and dad decided that one Christmas we'd go ahead and bring them up a Christmas tree. And so, there you have it. They had their first Christmas tree. They were very excited about that. Plus, they did get to learn a little bit about the history of the Christmas tree. Now, let's see. Oh, you know what? What I'm going to do right now is pause for station identification. Actually, it's not station identification, it's a commercial. You know, if you ever find yourself in Columbia, South Carolina, you should stop into the Hampton Inn Northeast. Yes, the Hampton Inn Northeast is one of the better hotels that you'll find down there, especially if you're handicapped like I am. Yes, they have roll-in showers, they have super soft mattresses, and not only that, the staff is more than willing to go out of their way to help you out. That's because they've been trained the proper way. Yes, sir, the managers are able to make decisions on their own because the top manager decided that that's the way a business ought to be ran. Top manager can only be able to make that decision if the president of the company has the confidence in that manager to be able to run that operation that way. And if each individual has confidence in the people that are working for them, well, by golly, they'll be able to make decisions that'll work their way from the bottom all the way up to the top. Alrighty. Now, they also have a lift to get you into their outdoor pool, which is always nice because if you're ever in South Carolina in the dead of the summer, you know it's going to be hot. I'm not saying just hot, I'm talking real hot. So getting into that pool is a good thing. Yes, sir. Anyway, hey, that was my commercial break. Back to the story. Now, being how I was at the being how I was playing in this, being how we went up and talked to the Bull Sisters regularly, well, I found out, well, not that I found out, on the way to their house, about 30 or 40 yards away, you could see their barn. Well, me and a friend of mine, a couple of friends of mine, we decided we were going to go and play some hide-and-go-seek in that barn one time. Well, one of them was up in hayloft, and he was the one counting and seeking. And, well, I was down in the stalls. And, well, there was a ball, one of the boards went across like this, and the other one was kind of, well, one was, uh-oh, getting all tangled up here in my wires. Just about flipped my headset off my head. But I didn't do it. Anyway, one was straight across, and the other one was kind of at an angle like that. And, well, there was a gap in between. So, my whole idea there was to switch places from one stall to the next stall. And the way I was going to do that was just kind of jump through the gap. I was just going to jump through the gap. And, well, when I tried to jump through the gap, I either jumped too high or didn't duck low enough, because I tried to put myself in a little ball as I went through. Well, problem there was I had just whacked my head on that top bar, on that top piece of wood going across. And when I did, I busted my head right open. Now, if you're in the 6th grade and you've got a bandage across the top of your head, you feel really ridiculous about it. Well, here was the situation. I had 36 stitches inside. No, is that right? 46 stitches inside and 36 outside, just to hold my head back together. Now, what had happened was I'd come up out of the backyard, and, well, the last time my mom had seen me, I had taken off hunting, and I had me 410 to do it with. Hold on just a second. think I'm going to try to get me a little sip of the water there. If I can get the straw up past the wire. Come on. Not going to be able to do it. Hold on a second. I'm going to pause out for a second and I'll get right back to you, okay? So anyway, with that 410 shotgun, and well, when I come up out of the woods, there was blood. Actually, what I was going to say about that was when I thumped my head, you know, anytime you hit your head, it feels like there's a dent in it. Well, I put my hand on top of my head, and I felt this dent, and well, what I done was pulled my head forward, not my head, my scalp forward, because I had nearly scalped myself like an Indian would scalp you back in the way backs. So anyway, I'm walking up to the house holding my head together, and I've got blood all down my face and all down my clothes, and my neighbor had already ran up to the house to let my mom and dad know that I was on my way up out of the woods, just, bleeding profusely. Now, I had already had my story made up of what had happened, but it wasn't that I was playing in a barn, because I wasn't supposed to be in that barn. So I'd been playing in the woods, swinging on vines, and I'd smashed myself into a tree. Which wasn't the exact truth, if you know what I'm saying. It was a lie. But anyway, that come back to bite me, and I can tell you about that later on. Anyway, this scalp bleeding all over the place. My mom thought I'd shot myself in the head, and so she come out the back door screaming, and then my dad came out there too, and we calmed everything down, but they put me in the shower. And when I was in the shower, well, a head injury bleeds a lot, and then you add water to it, and it bleeds. It looks like a lot more blood in there. So anyway, after we got my scalp held together, we took me on off to the hospital, and they stitched me all back up. And that was a good thing. But now I've got to wear this goofy-looking bandage on top of my head where they had shaved it all off. And if you look at the top of my head to this day, you can see a patch there where it looks like it's kind of missing a clump of hair. Well, that's gotten bigger over the years, but anyway, so I've got this goofy looking patch on top of my head, and a little thing wrapped around it to hold it on. So I have to go in to the principal's office first off to explain what I had went and done. Of course, it still hadn't come out that I'd been playing in a barn. I still had I had still played in the woods and swung a vine into a tree. But I actually, matter of fact, I think I got enough time to tell you what happened. One of the kids down the street had called up and said, "Hey, I heard that you was playing in a barn," and I was like, "No, I wasn't." But anyway, he kept saying that I was, and I kept saying I wasn't. And my mom had just so happened to have been listening in on the conversation, not completely, just kind of barely hearing my half of it. And so finally, after I got off the phone, she confronted me with it, and well, when it comes right down to it, and you're confronted with the fact that you better fess up to what's going on, I finally fessed, and I told her that I'd been playing in a barn, and that I had thumped my head in the barn. Well, they took me back down there just to make sure that I hadn't hit any nails or anything, because, well, I wasn't sure whether I was up to date on my tetanus shot or not. So we went down there and looked at it a little more careful, and what had seemed to happen was there was a knot part of the board, which it wasn't a flat board at that point in time. And in the good old days, they used like whatever they could trim a log down into. Microphone off. Whatever they could trim a log down into to make a board. So it was kind of a triangle shaped thing, and it had sharp edge on it. And well, I done thumped into that. Anyway, hey, that looks like my time. It looks like I made it without singing again. Alrighty, this here is Shenandoah Briscoe saying, hello and how are you? You know, God loves you and so do I. So be blessed in Jesus' name, and I'll talk to you tomorrow, alrighty? Well, alrighty then.